All right, welcome. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to our Texas Radio podcast with Radio Valem. Today we have a very special guest. We're very honored to have Sofia Navarro, who's the Executive Director for the Oakland Workforce Board. So please join me in virtually welcoming Sofia. Welcome. Yeah. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome. All right. Well, thanks for coming by to our podcast. Very excited to talk to you about workforce development here in Oakland, such a important issue and impacts so many different areas right in our community. Why don't we start by just letting us know about the Oakland Workforce Board, and of course I'm interested also to hear about your trajectory and how you got involved in workforce development.
Well, thank you, Ulises, for having me, and Tech Exchange for offering me to come and talk about the work that I do. So I started actually my career, going to the trajectory of working at the Unity Council back in 2005, right out of college, and there was doing a lot of great community work and was there until November of 2014. And I decided that at that point in my life, I wanted to really diversify my experience because the Unity Council is all that I knew right out of college, right? Even though it was great experience, I love working and serving the Latino community in the Fruitville. But I had the opportunity to go off to Planned Parenthood in Northern California as the VP of Community and Government Relations, and was there for about 8 years. But my focus there was also around community engagement, public affairs, and health education. And so really relished in that work, but was really itching to come back to Oakland and serve the Oakland community. So I came back, applied for the position of the Executive Director of the Workforce Board, and have been with the City of Oakland for the last 2 years and about 5 months. So that's how I started in Oakland. But with regards to what I'm doing and the work of the Workforce Board, our focus is really to support organizations that are providing job training support to job seekers here in Oakland, our Oakland residents, in addition to working with the business community and making sure that they have a qualified workforce. So our ecosystem is essentially providing support and resources to the organizations and serving our community in the right way.
Oh, okay, great. Well, thank you for sharing that, and shout out to Unity Council. We had them here on our last episode, so they're a great organization as well, and we have collaborated with them in the past, and that's really a lot of what this work is all about, right? Collaboration with all the community organizations. Maybe you can share with us a little bit about, what are the primary focuses you guys have right now for the Workforce Board, and kind of your strategies around that?
Yeah, so right now we're actually focused on our summer jobs program, so really focused on getting young people engaged. Right now we're serving individuals, young people that are as young as 14 to 21, and getting them, experience during the summer. So that is in partnership with our community-based organization. So we are currently partnering with Tribe, Lao Family, and Youth Employment Partnership to really support those efforts. However, even with the organizations that we are partnering with, there's still another network of providers that are doing summer jobs. And so our focus is really collaborating with Oakland Unified School District in addition to our other city departments to again ensure that we are providing employment opportunities for our young people during the summer, keeping them engaged in productive activity and getting them exposed to different careers. And so that is our number one focus right now. And then we are also in the process of doing our strategic planning process. So that will really, again, get us focused on what is the next 2 to 3 years look like for workforce development, since we know that the landscape has changed. And so right now we're going to start the strategic planning process, and then we're really focused on sector-based initiatives, so looking at healthcare, tech, everything that you all are doing, and really identifying what are the pathways, how do we connect, again, the systems, identify what's already happening at OUSD, right, with their career pathways, how do we connect young people into, post K through 12, whether that's community colleges or directly into employment. So our goal is really, again, developing those pathways, identifying what is already existing, and then where is the future taking us with some of these sectors. And so part of that effort is also engaging businesses and ensuring that the businesses or the employers are really informing that pathway for us. And then again, we partner with our community colleges, with our education institutions, in addition with our community-based organizations, so that we're really focused on what does the pathway look like, and really being intentional about getting our Oakland residents into high quality jobs that are providing livable and thriving wages. So that is what we're up to, and that's going to be the next phase of our work.
Right, to introduce young people to work experiences, to career pathways, and giving them that extra guidance and mentorship and experiences, right, for them to have long-term success. So, and I know that program's been around for a while, the Summer Youth Employment Program, right? How many youth does it normally serve every summer?
Yeah, so I would say with the programming that we're serving, we probably are able to get to about 300 young people, but collectively in partnership with OUSD and the city departments, we're probably looking at reaching about 2,000. But that's what, again, to clarify, like what we fund though is about the 300 positions. Everything extra is in partnership and collaboration with our other providers or educational institutions.
So yeah, it's still very good. It's
with limited resources too. So yeah.
And then you mentioned, of course, the important work of engaging the different sectors, right? Which is obviously a challenge in of itself, I'm sure. But what would you say are like the biggest obstacles you've seen that Oakland in particular faces around workforce?
Yeah, I would say that the biggest obstacle is that the landscape of workforce development has shifted. It's changed post-pandemic, the way that we live our lives, the inequities and the disparities have only expanded because of the pandemic. So in my opinion, and also just the fact that the way hybrid work is functioning now, right? So the landscape has changed and how people behave in the work setting has shifted. And so we've had to redirect and reimagine workforce development in a new way. So how do we engage businesses? How do we engage our job seekers so that they stay engaged in their job training program through the end and then get into employment? Because let's face it, a lot of our Oakland residents and a lot of folks seeking employment need a job now, need to get paid now. And so we're trying to work at the speed of where the need is at. And so that has been a challenge because things often don't work that quickly, but we're doing our best to make sure that we are working with employers, identifying the jobs and getting our folks trained and into those job opportunities. So I would say, again, the landscape has changed, so that's been the challenge, but we've been trying to really lean in on our existing partnerships because a lot of our organizations are already doing a lot of great work. And so wanting to amplify that work in addition to support, the employment opportunities and more job fairs and so forth. So I would say that's been the biggest challenge, and then just the fact that we're dealing with right now public safety issues, and so making sure that folks feel safe going to the workplace and so forth, and working with other partners to make sure that happens. So.
But yeah, addressing it and how that impacts business and economic development, right? But you mentioned like how the pandemic really highlighted some of the inequities and how different communities have been more impacted by access or lack of access to economic opportunity, upward mobility. Are there some specific strategies that the Workforce Board puts in place or prioritizes to kind of elevate underserved communities, minorities, and so on?
Yes. So we actually have partnered with our Department in Race and Equity to ensure that we have a race and equity analysis to the work that we do. And so back in 2018, we did a race and equity analysis to, again, identify where are the priority zip codes we need to focus our funding on. And what that identified was that our focus needs to be in East Oakland, West Oakland, and Central Fruitvale area, because those are the areas where we have the most marginalized communities, underserved, underpaid, underemployed, right? So all the unders, unfortunately, are in those areas. And so what we've been able to do is identifying that was key, because what we did was in our request for proposals, when we put out the dollars that then providers can apply for, we made sure to articulate that we want the resources allocated in those priority zip code areas. So as folks applied, we made sure and deployed their programs, we made sure that enrollments have been primarily servicing those three core areas, and we're seeing it in our data that that's happening. So that's one way. The other is ensuring that we are collaborating with organizations in those communities, right? So they know their communities the best, making sure that language capacity is there. So that has been another key element of making sure that we're getting to the communities that are in most need. And then also just being in partnership with, our educational institutions, making sure that we're marketing the information in various languages, not only through our social media platforms, but through the organizations that we're working with, and just spreading the word through groundwork, right? Going out and kind of organizing, in addition to amplifying through our different social media networks.
Great, yeah. Oh, that sounds great. Very exciting, and obviously very challenging too. Yeah. And then you mentioned the collaboration, right? And I think we can all agree that now especially like collaboration between agencies, CBOs, is the best way to get like elective impact. What would you say is like your overall approach to like both collaboration between city agencies, but also like fostering like ecosystem collaboration between the providers and all of that?
So I think for me, I come from community. I haven't lost where I came from. And so I think it's key for me to make sure that I'm going out into community, engaging with the organizations, engaging with the community, and fostering a relationship that's built on trust, right? I think that being able to communicate what our intention is, but at the same time being able to listen to the needs of the community, because we don't often keep that into perspective. And so sometimes I think the way that the relationships have worked with like government and community-based organizations, it's usually a trickle-down effect. And so my approach has been the opposite, in wanting community to inform where we need to go, what does workforce development need to look like, what are the resources that are needed. So the way that I've engaged it has been, again, going out into community, not just staying in the office, but going out to visit and see what different programs they have, or if there's a job fair locally, like attending those in person has been the way to go. And then also just making sure that we're, again, engaging the community-based organizations in the decision-making process, and again, where the plans are going. So I think that mutual relationship and communication has been key to making sure that we're successful together. Government can't function alone, and we really do need to lean in on our community-based organizations that are doing the critical work of being and serving our communities that are most need. So I think for me, acknowledging that and saying that, but also just putting action into the word, right? So like coming out and making sure that we're engaging and taking in all the feedback to guide the work that we do.
Yeah, no, it's great to see one of our community there representing and having that foresight. No, that's great. And I obviously appreciate that you guys are, as you mentioned, putting together a strategic plan. That's obviously very important for all, not only agencies but organizations, right, to have an idea of where they're going over a long period of time and what their objectives are. And in that regard, what would you describe as like, I guess the most exciting efforts in the future of the Workforce Board there?
Yeah, so I think that there's a few opportunities for the Workforce Board. One is expanding our summer jobs program. So I mentioned earlier in the conversation that we serve about 200 to 300 young people during the summer. I would love to be able to say that every young person who wants an opportunity can have an opportunity. So that's a vision and a goal in the next year or two to really grow the summer jobs program. The other would be to really focus in on the sector-based strategies. So identifying our high growth sector initiatives, which I mentioned healthcare, IT, but there's also construction, advanced manufacturing, arts and culture. And so really centering our work around bringing those folks within those industries to really inform the pathways. So that is a critical component of our strategic plan of, again, making sure that we have a sector-based approach to the work. And then also just making sure that we're also connecting the dots. So alignment and removing the silos is another big component of our work, of really engaging systems that do similar work, at least better said, focused on providing a more holistic approach to the work. So that means systems alignment, right? So that is another critical component of what we're up to as a board, of, again, just making sure that we're having conversations at a larger level and making sure that our local plans are connected and talking to each other.
Of course, yeah, no, appreciate that. That reminds me of another question about particularly the sector-based engagement and sort of identifying career pathways and upward mobility for folks. In your conversations or initial engagement, are you guys finding that there's an openness to like work-based experience learning versus like must-have degree type of thing? I know that's been a trending thing for some years now, but like, are you guys finding that employers are more receptive to a person having work experience versus the necessary degree?
Yes, so I would say that I think the way that we look at our role at the Workforce Board is really making sure that we have a pathway for anybody and everybody that's coming through our doors. So that could be somebody that just completed their GED or has their high school diploma and is not interested in college. College is not for everyone, right? So we get that. And so making sure that we have those types of pathways and opportunities. And so what we've seen on the employer side or the industry side, I mean, it really depends, right, on the industry, but we have seen a shift that some folks would rather have experience in, and sometimes that experience is equivalent to that degree. And so we have seen those shifts more, I would say, because I think part of it has to do with folks want people to show up, right? Hybrid is still around, but I do see that more folks are coming back to the office. And I think that employers are struggling with that balance, right? Some employers do want, not all, but some employers do want folks back into the office, and there are people that are ready to be back into the office. So I think that that is also part of that balancing act of having folks who may not have the degree but have the experience that are ready to get started. So we see the shift happening, but I think it still depends on industry, but we are seeing that folks will take experience rather than a degree in some cases.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all that information. And as always, we'd like to always have where can folks find out more, whether it's employers or prospective job seekers, to find out more about the Workforce Board.
So for folks who want to find out more information, you can visit our website at www.oaklandca.gov/WDB. And that's Workforce Development Board. So if you want to find more information about what we do and our services, you can definitely go to that website.
Well, thank you again, Sofia, and the Workforce Board, and keep up all the great stuff, and look forward to an exciting summer with all these youth employment programs and your strategic plan coming out.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon.